Hello, friends, and welcome to Wake Nation 21, the first fan-fueled YouTube channel dedicated to everything Wake Forest athletics. My name is Josh Chilton. I am your dedicated co-host, and I am here today again with my brother Shane. Shane, how you doing? How's your week been? What's going on, man?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. Just enjoyed the week. It was pretty busy week. Now I'm just hanging out. Got my little guy over here, so enjoying. Ready to talk about some Wake Forest football and the haters, man. Let's go.
Yeah, today's show is dedicated to the haters. I'm gonna throw the comment, that little darkness you see around Shane's face. I'm gonna throw that comment thing up there on the screen since we already have a live viewer. And so if anyone wants to comment, you can comment live while we're doing the show. We will respond. Let's get in first before we get into the main content of today's episode. Let's talk just a little bit about timeline and positions, certainty about who's going to be starting week one. Coach Dickert had this press conference where, if you read between the lines, it kind of seemed like the second scrimmage that is taking place this weekend is going to be a key point of assessment regarding especially the quarterback situation. Is it going to be Purdy? Is it going to be Ashford? But also, across a lot of position groups, we've got, as he said before, 7, 8 offensive linemen who could be potentially starting. We've got, 5, 6, 7 wide receivers who could be starting. So what do you think about like this timeline that seems to be coming together in the next week or so? And are you excited to get the announcement? Who do you think it's going to be, especially in terms of like quarterback?
Yeah, I think Dickert's kind of chomping at the bit here, man. I think he's been kind of holding back a bit, and there's a reason for that. You don't want to give away too much too early, but I can kind of see like he's ready to get the guys in there, get them battling, so that he can make some critical decisions for the team this year, and kind of get the starting lineup going. From the conversation about quarterback, it seems like he is leaning towards Robbie. That's my initial impression. It's not surprising. Robbie came over from South Carolina, highly recruited individual, very talented. Dickert talked about his feet, which it seems like everybody talks about his feet. So I can't wait to see him kind of moving around in that option power spread. But he's still, Purdy's still in the race, and it seems like, Purdy also has the talent to pull it off. He just kind of has to step into it a little bit more in order to win that position. Because, as we know, the quarterback position is never just given to somebody. That's the position where you got to go in and you got to show it every single day. So sounds like a pretty good battle, and, they're pushing each other, and, we'll see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like process too. It's like, how are you taking in the calls from the sideline? How are you leading the huddle? How are you getting the team to the line of scrimmage? Who's able to execute those areas of the game the best? And I think with our first opponent being Kennesaw State, not to underestimate anyone, but after doing some research,
let's underestimate them.
Robbie is a great option for us going into week one, because if we can establish this power run scheme and let Robbie use his feet, like not only as a runner, but like getting out of the pocket, whether it be a rollout or him, kind of improvising, making plays, feeling comfortable against a team that, at least theoretically, is way less talented than us. I think it can be a building block for Robbie moving forward. And then if he struggles, hopefully that struggle won't, manifest in us losing the game. I don't think it will because of our defense, because of the running game. And then we can reevaluate after, week one. But I think, the main point I took from it was beginning this coming Wednesday, they're going to start treating it as game prep week.
Right.
It's going to be all right. Now we're preparing for opponents. So I'm excited for that. But let's get into what we came here today to talk about. What we came here today to talk about are the haters, man. We're going to talk about some of the preseason prognostications regarding Wake Forest football. Just the predictions, what people are saying, where we're being picked in terms of, the ACC. So you can see right here, this is a preseason poll from ACC Media. This is just the media in the ACC choosing the people who they think are going to finish at whatever place in the league. And as you can see, we are down at the very bottom at number 16 out of 17. So that's in the preseason poll, according to ACC Media. What do you think about that one, Shane?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a media poll, right? So these are supposed to be the experts. Watch many seasons, follow all the transfers, follow all of the, pickups, and all the players who stayed and stuff like that. I mean, clearly I disagree. It's almost laughable, I think. Having us at 16. I look through this list. I think that, obviously Clemson, they've established themselves and they know exactly where, they deserve to be. That's fine. Miami, they're bringing him back, and, he had a lot of success last year, and, he's, arguably, the best quarterback in the league. But, we'll see. He's got to bring success to a program that, it's kind of been trying to climb back from the heyday, for quite a while. So, I mean, obviously there's arguments that can be made for against Wake from all these teams, but some teams that stand out. I mean, we should be in front of Cal. We should be in front of Boston College, Syracuse,
Virginia. See, what baffles me about this poll is kind of like what you said. These are supposed to be the people who are closest to the ACC programs. Now, I'm not going to argue with the top five. From Clemson to Louisville, I'm cool. I'm not expecting you with, us having Dave Clawson leave, coming off 2-4-8 seasons. I'm not expecting you to put us top five with the roster turnover that we've had in the new regime. But when we're talking about 6 through 16, I just don't see much difference and why you would think that Duke is going to be leaps.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, leaps and bounds.
Let's start with that if we, want to test this as a trustable ranking.
Right.
That's so, 6th spot.
Yeah, and even if you don't pick us at 6, it's just the fact that we're at 16 makes me think that no one has really paid attention to the program, from the aspect of what's happened since spring camp, the guys we brought in since the spring and into the fall. And
we
got
a comment coming in.
I understand. I understand, long-legged runner, that Duke won 6 games last season by 7 points or less, and that further emphasizes that,
just means they were bad at crunch time.
Yeah, or get football. It's the most famous saying since that movie came out. It's a game of inches. one play here, one play there, the season looks completely different. And so just the difference between the teams 6 through 16, I think is a lot. We're all bunched a lot closer. So if you want to put us in the 16th spot, that's fine. But I just think we need to acknowledge that this grouping, there's no huge talent disparity
Right.
between a Wake Forest and even a Carolina or a Pitt or whoever you want to throw on there. So I'm going to remove this one and then I'm going to bring the next one in. This is so that was more like local to the ACC. Now let's look at a more like national, prediction website. And so this is from Fox Sports. Shane, I'll let you talk about this one because you were the one who found this. Kind of explain RJ Young and who he is and what he does and what this is all about.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I follow Fox Sports maybe a little bit more than ESPN, just a personal preference. But if you scroll down here to, his take, I think it shows that like he didn't really do much of a deep dive. I understand he did a 136 team ranking. You can't do a deep dive on all 136 teams. That's fine. But he's still publishing this. He's still a Fox Sports writer. So, I mean, first of all, Dave Clawson doesn't give him any credit at all. It's basically like, yeah,
He's
when you go
trash.
4-8, you just, that's what happens to you. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we didn't have the greatest season. A lot of that has to do with him not being kind of an NIL, more of a scheme, mesh, type of offense. And I think it was clear to most fans that like he wasn't a fan of the NIL. That's why he's not here anymore. Okay, so it's a new era, but yeah, so wasn't psyched about that. And then let's see what else he was talking about here. It's he's just basically like the old scheme didn't work, so they're not going to have success this year. It's kind of like, okay, that's probably the reason we're going to have success this year is because we brought in someone new. They have this new scheme, and they're kind of NIL type. Dickert's an NIL type guy. So I think one of the takeaways.
I think a lot of times when we're talked about on the national scene, it's always Wake has the smallest enrollment in all of the major FBS programs. NIL funding could be a problem for Wake Forest because of the size. And I get that we don't have like a huge like alumni pool of people to like bring in money from. But on the other hand, we are a top 20 academic institution in the freaking country.
Yeah.
So we've got some smart and very well off, I would say, successful people in our alumni circles. And I think between that and our business school, I feel like NIL could be a potential strength for the Wake Forest football program. But it's always
what's your pool if you have 10 alums making $50,000 a year compared to 10 alums making $10 million a year? You know, I mean, what's that? What's our spending ability there? It's not hard math.
Right. And so I don't think NIL is going to be, and I think it's been proved by, in his first season, Coach Dickert bringing in the number 46 ranked class in terms of our transfer class. Like we got a pretty good transfer class for a new head coach at a new program, which included a lot of really talented players across our defensive line. I mean, my goodness, I think if anyone took a closer look at our defensive line, this win total thing that you see here, where the Vegas is guessing by the minus 144 the under. Like right now, people are picking the under more than the over in terms of us winning 4.5 games. And so if we have the 3 games that are basically supposed, gimmies, which are Kennesaw State, and then we have second week Western Carolina, and then later we have Delaware. Those are supposedly 3 gimmies. That means the majority of people betting on Wake Forest this year are betting that we're only going to win one more game besides those. We're only going to win one conference game. And the line says that our most optimistic outlook is to win 1 or 2 conference games. And then add on top of that we have the easiest schedule in the nation. If you look at our schedule, we have the easiest schedule in the nation. Right. I just think it's very interesting, that, these outside perspectives haven't been close to the program, don't know what's been going on in fall camp, don't really buy in, to what Dickert is as a leader, or maybe buy-in's the wrong word. Haven't seen up close the way we've seen up close, especially you and I buying in to what Dickert is selling. Right. I just think, that's the reason for these rankings. But there's another perception about Wake Forest football that I think we need to address as well. And this is the perception that we are a bottom feeder program in the NCAA. So this is a YouTube channel called College Football Explained. And what he did was he made like a bracket of all the worst college football programs in the country. And guess who made an appearance on the worst football programs in the country? So we're going to listen to him explain why we belong even in this bracket of one of the worst teams in the country.
Wake Forest. When you think of Wake Forest, you think of basketball legends like Tim Duncan or Chris Paul. But football? For most of their history, it's been an afterthought. From the 1970s through the mid-90s, Wake was basically the ACC's automatic W. Season after season, they rolled out 2-9 or 3-8 records, often getting blown out by halftime. Things changed briefly in 2006 when Jim Grobe led them to a Cinderella ACC title. They followed that up with bowls in 2007 and 2008. And more recently, Dave Clawson has done a solid job keeping them competitive. From 2016 to 2022, Wake made 7 straight bowl appearances, and they even went 11-3 in 2021. But don't let recent success erase the bigger picture. Wake Forest has spent most of its football.
So that's basically the video. Wake has spent most of its football life at the bottom, being bottom feeders of college football. And, to some degree, sure. Like if you look at like the overall record since like the 1950s or whatever, then sure, you can say that we had these long periods, a 20-year period from the 70s to the 90s where we lost a lot of games. But how is that relevant now? And that's what we're going to get into as we prove here in just a few minutes that Wake Forest is the best, the greatest college football program in the state of North Carolina in the 21st century. But that just shows you just a little hint of public perception regarding Wake Forest football. And then here's another one that does like a very similar thing. It does kind of who are the most miserable programs in college football. And this video got 74,000 views. So this guy, again, is putting us in the most miserable category of college football.
Our next power team is Wake Forest. And as of right now, they are the worst Power 4 football program in the country. The Demon Deacons have an all-time record of 400.
See, he says that, and he's gonna go to our all-time record. I understand that, but he preempted that by saying, "Right now, right now, we're the worst," or historically since before the invention of cable television, we're the worst. Like, come on now.
88, 677, and 33 are just around 42%. Despite that, they've done pretty well in the postseason as they've gone 11-6 in bowl games with 2 conference titles coming in 1970 and 2006. They're in a state in North Carolina with 3 other power programs, making it hard to stand out. And they're the smallest Power 5 university in terms of enrollment, and 6 of their 33 head coaches have finished above 500. That's really saying a lot for Coach Dave Clawson, who's gone 67-69 in 11 years in Wake, and went 5-3 in bowl games, and took them to an ACC title back in 2021. He honestly does not get enough credit, but now the Demon Deacons will rely on Jake Dickert, coming in from Washington State, to help keep them afloat in the ACC. The Yale Monroe Warhawks are one of the most consistent.
To help keep us afloat in the ACC, we just gotta hope and pray that we can stay afloat in the ACC. So this is just a glimpse of national perception of Wake Forest football. Just what casual college football fans think about our program. And so, Shane, do you have what's your analysis of this in totality, whether it's this season, public perception, and why are you specifically bullish about the team this year? That's what's most important to me, is why are we bullish about the team this year versus the national expectations?
Right. Well, I mean, in the modern era, you could say arguably that Wake is a football school more than a basketball school. I know we have that reputation because we've got the likes of Tim Duncan and Chris Paul for basketball. But if you look at success between those two programs at Wake, I know that's not like a larger picture, but if you just look at the programs at Wake, then the argument's quite clear for Wake football, I would say. We're more of a football school. Now, I'll say this, like, college football is a different kind of beast, okay? We are competing against the likes of, historically, like Clemson's, Florida State's. There are these programs that, historically had so much success. The Alabamas, the Georgias, you can go on and on, Texas. So for football, in my opinion, obviously a team like Wake is not going to get, as much attention nationally, like in the national conversation, obviously, as some of these, bigger programs, that have had national championships. But, it takes someone who's analyzing it more at like a granular level to see, these subtle differences and these subtle improvements. And I mean, the fact that Clawson, is not talked about, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves for what he did. Grobe, I mean, ACC championship, Riley Skinner at that time, I remember that like it was yesterday, and so they highlight, the size of the school. That has really nothing to do with anything. It's okay to have small enrollment. That just makes our accomplishments greater, in my opinion. Yeah. And if you look into this pivot into the NIL era and the hire of Dickert, I think that Dickert is an amazing hire, and I'm actually that's the main reason I'm bullish moving forward, is because he had that success at Washington State. He's got great energy, and I think he seems like he's really getting the team prepared. He's having success in the transfer portal. He's having success recruiting young talent. He's having success keeping talent, which is arguably a harder thing to do, in the NIL era, is to keep the talent that you have.
Devon Claiborne.
Yeah.
I was bought in the moment he retained DeMond Claiborne.
Exactly. You know, and you can say, okay, well that's just the money. Well, so what? That's how it's going now. Like,
It works.
I make a lot of my decisions based on money. Like, that's an okay reason to make your decision. It's a good reason to make your decision. And so I think that, like, anyone who's coming to Wake Forest and sees the campus, you know, the coaches have talked about it. The new coaches have talked about, like, how they're just blown away. They're like, this is the most beautiful campus I've ever seen. And so we have plenty of selling points. You know, we've got a program that stays out of trouble. You know, we just got a lot of pluses. That's where, you know, my bullishness comes from.
My bullishness about Wake Forest this season is heavily focused on Dickert as a program builder. When I watched the AC or the Wake Forest All Access from the spring, when I watched Coach Dickert, I recognized something in a football coach that where the kids are going to want to play for this man. The kids are going to be better connected to each other because of this man. The strength and conditioning program is going to be better because of this man. And the two guys he brought in, respectively, Rob Ezell and Scotty Hazelton, were names who I could also buy into from a coordination standpoint.
Right.
So I feel like we have at the top a program builder who, at Washington State, in a Pac-12 that had abandoned them, you know, Oregon State and Washington State abandoned in the wilderness of the Pacific Northwest.
No support.
Conferenceless, like basically just left in the dark. Somehow this Dickert guy gets them to go 8-4 last year. Like, if
that says a lot about resilience, you know.
Yeah, that's the type of coach I want at Wake Forest, is someone who's been in a situation where his program faced a level of adversity that most programs couldn't even imagine. And he still came out with, you know, the best quarterback in the nation, like as a transfer, like coming out of that season, led the team to 8-4 in that season without a conference.
Right. Not making excuses, you know.
Yeah, no excuses, just going out there and getting the team to perform. But what I want to do now is something that I think viewers are really going to enjoy. We're going to set the record straight here. Who has had the greatest football program in North Carolina this century? And so, yeah, we're never going to be compared to the Ohio States, to the Georgias, you know, to those types of programs. We're Wake Forest. We're in the ACC, and these are our counterparts, right? These are the big four in North Carolina: Wake Forest, NC State, the Tar Heels, and the Dukies. And so if we look at the 21st century, who's had the greatest football program in the 21st century out of these four teams? And let's just do a comparison. All right, so first of all, the Dukies and the Tar Heels, they just clearly aren't it. They just aren't. They're just not. Let's look at Duke. 0 ACC championships, 0 championship game appearances since it first started in 2005, having an ACC championship game. They've gone through 4 head coaches, which speaks to stability. They've constantly had to change head coaches. Their winning percentage since the year 2000, 39%. Did they have any Big Six bowl appearances? Like, have they made an Orange Bowl or a major bowl like that? No, they haven't done that. When's the last time Duke was ranked in the top 10? Has Duke been ranked in the top 10 in this century? No, you got to go back 60 years. 1961, that's the last time they were ranked in the top 10. And when's the last time they even won an ACC title? 1989. They were co-champions. And before that, it was like the 60s. And one thing, I like about being a Wake Forest fan is following my players into the NFL and having alumni from the program who I can pull for. Who's the last all pro player, NFL player to come out of Duke? Sonny freaking
Jones.
I barely know who Sonny Jurgensen is. It's so old. No apologies to some of you older folks who might really know the Sonny Jurgensen game.
Probably a stud.
But I don't know Sonny Jurgensen. So it's been since 1969 that you've had an all-pro player coming out of your football program. Shane, why don't you do the rundown for UNC for us?
Okay. I mean, we got a similar story here. It's almost like you could put them on top of each other and they're, match each other. Okay. We've got for the Tar Heels, 0 ACC championships. Okay. We've got 1 championship game appearance. It's the same as Duke in terms of head coaches. Obviously, this year they've got kind of their crown jewel in Belichick. We'll see how that works out. I mean, there's a reason he's at UNC this year. So, kudos
past his prime.
Kudos for them getting him. I mean, you could say that. Well, that just means UNC worked that much harder or did that much better to get it. But
keep his girlfriend away from the players. Just keep his girlfriend away from the players.
Yeah, in the emails.
All right, keep going.
Yeah, winning a little bit more winning since 2000. You got 44%. They lost the Orange Bowl in 2021, 41-27 to Texas A&M.
So at least they've made a Big Six type bowl,
right?
But they lost it.
Exactly. The last time they were ranked in the top 10 was 2015. We're talking 10 years ago now. Okay, I know that seems like it was yesterday, but it wasn't. Last ACC title was 1980. Okay. And we said, so let's look at their pros, and I was telling Josh, before this, that's kind of the interesting thing. Yeah, I would have thought UNC, I mean, Duke, it's they're both academic schools, but I can see why Duke, might kind of be, in those lower echelons, but I was a little surprised with UNC and all their glamour. But yeah, the last All-Pro alumni, Julius Peppers, the man, the legend, playing basketball and football at the same time like a G. But
shout out to Julius Peppers because he played for the Panthers.
Yeah,
and I
love Julius Peppers, but
how long ago was that?
But 2012. So. If we put this on paper, it sticks out. I'll just say that it sticks out.
All right. So let's go to the two who are really competing. And this is what it really comes down to in terms of the greatest football program in the state of North Carolina in the 21st century. This is what it really comes down to. And I did not think it was going to come down to the pack, the little puppy pack.
Whoa.
The little puppy pack. The puppy pack is, like I said, when I was wasted drunk at a game where Wake was playing in Raleigh against NC State back in the early 2000s when I was just a dumb kid, wasted drunk, got kicked out of the game because I was yelling, "What a celebration of mediocrity." Consistent mediocrity out of the Wolfpack.
Legend.
So I'm going to go over the Wolfpack's, resume here and their contention as the greatest football program of the 21st century in the state. So State has 0 ACC championships, 0 championship game appearances since the 2000s. They've had 3 head coaches, which is a little better than Duke and Carolina. Their winning percentage, that's the one thing they've got. They've won 57% of their games. So congratulations to the Puppy Pack. You've gone 6-5. You've gone 7-4 more consistently than Wake Forest in the 21st century. That's what you got on us. That's what you got on us. When's the last time you were ranked in the top 10, though? 2002. That's Phillip Rivers days, right? When's the last time you won an ACC title? 1979? Neither of us were even born, and I'm pushing 40 here. Last All-Pro alumni. I'll give it to you. Joe Thuney. He was a great offensive lineman, played for the Chiefs, was a first-team All-Pro in 2023. Shout out to you. You've put out a few quarterbacks. You cannot claim Russell Wilson. You cannot claim him. He left you in the dust. All you got is that who was that big tall guy? I can't even remember his name. That came.
Yeah.
Tom O'Brien benched Russell Wilson because he wanted to play baseball. Kicked Russell Wilson.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name either. And there's a reason we can't think of his name. I think Glennon.
Yeah, Glennon. Yeah, all you've got is Glennon. You got Jacoby Myers, and then you got Joe Thuney, and you've had some players sprinkled throughout the league, but you have no championships. You don't even have a championship game appearance. All you have is the consistent ability to go 7-5 each year.
Yeah, and Phillip Rivers.
That's all you've got.
That was 20 years ago.
All right, and that's 20 years ago. So now let's do Wake Forest. Shane, why don't you just go through this resume of Wake Forest and why it's clearly obvious that we are the greatest football program in the state of North Carolina in the 21st century.
All right. So one thing that none of these other 3 teams had, ACC championship in 2006, Riley Skinner. Let's go. All right. We've got one more championship appearance in 2021. Okay.
Let's go.
We've got 2 head coaches. All right. Caldwell, he resigned and, went to the NFL and, had a great, run there. But
that speaks to stability, though. 2 head coaches in 25 years.
Right. Exactly. Especially, this day and age with, flip over teams are getting a new coach every year, basically. Solid winning since 2000, 47%. We lost the Orange Bowl. In that same year, we won the ACC championship to Louisville, 24-13. Last time ranked in the top 10 was that same year that we had an appearance in the ACC championship.
And even though we only did it for 1 week, we still can claim who was the last football team in this state to be ranked in the top 10. It ain't the Dukies. It ain't the Tar Heels. It ain't the Puppy Pack. It's Wake Forest University, baby.
I remember watching us climb that ranking, and I remember taking a screenshot on my phone when we got to that. I have to look at my phone and see the exact date when I took that. But yeah, I remember us going up the ranks there. Only Big Four North Carolina program to win the ACC championship in the last 36 years.
How old are you, Shane?
So this is 35. So, we're in the same time period here.
Shane was as young as his little son, who you might hear in the background from time to time during this stream. The last time any of these fools won an ACC championship since 35, 36 years ago. But when the last time Wake won it, we won it in 2006, and we almost won it again. We've almost had 2. And some of these guys, look at State, 0 championship game appearances. They don't even get to the game.
Right.
So they can have their little 7-5 consistency. We'll take the ups, the highs of winning a real ACC championship. We'll take the highs of being ranked top 10 in the country. We'll take the highs of making it to multiple championship games. We'll take the stability of having coaches who stick around, who can make promises to their players and stick to those promises and have those players know they're going to be there for a while. We'll take all of that because when it comes to the final answer to the question, whose resume are you taking objectively when you look through these 4 resumes? Whose resume are you taking? And I love this version of the Demon Deacon. I know we've got the new logo of the Demon Deacon, but this is the Demon Deacon.
Classic.
Yeah, this is the Demon Deacon I grew up with. So whose resume are you taking, Shane? We're taking the Deeks.
All day. Let's go. Go Deeks.
Go Deeks. And so we wanted to end this. I wanted to end this stream with a message to the players. So this is going to be strictly a message to the players. And I hope that someone can get this message. If Coach Dickert, if you see this message, I want you to get this message to the players because I have something that I need to say. I have a few years of experience coaching at the Pop Warner level. And I know how to motivate young men, young kids, be a leader of men. And so I've just got a few words that I need to get out to the players on this 2025 Wake Forest football team. And here it is. Here's what I'm saying to you fellas. No one outside of this program has high expectations for you this season. All of the experts in the National and ACC media have picked us to finish at the bottom of the conference. Do they know something we don't know about this football team? Do they know something about you that you don't know about yourself? Have they put in the blood, the sweat, the tears that you have from spring camp all the way to the fall to this very moment? Hell no. And this is usually a family-friendly program. But I'm warning you, if you've got kids around, this section is not for you. Because I need to tell you, as someone who knows a little something about this violent, fast, and sometimes soul-crushing game of football, it is a privilege to play this sport at any level. And it's something that can never be replicated once you take those helmet and pads off for the very last time. And you never know when that's going to be. I was a 5'11", 185-pound outside linebacker playing at the highest level of high school North Carolina football when I played my last game. And despite my size, you can ask anyone who knows about Mount Tabor football in that era, and they will tell you that Josh Chilton was a dog and his brother was a dog. My senior year, I at that size had 93 tackles, 71 of which were solo tackles. I had 7 sacks. I had a pick 6 to score the first touchdown of that season for a team that ended up playing in the state championship that year. But I misspoke a few shows ago when I said both Shane and I played in a state championship. That's because I did not get to play, and I didn't know when my last game was when we beat Davie County that year in the state quarterfinals. The following Friday, I was paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of my life on the day of the state semifinals against West Charlotte. And with my literal life hanging in the balance in the ICU, my team beat West Charlotte down 28-3 to advance to the championship game. You know why? Because they were playing inspired. They were playing for each other. They were playing with passion, grit, and connection. They refused to let anyone beat them that night. And what I'm asking you this season is simple. Trust your coaches and be the grittiest sons of bitches out there each game. Do right for one play longer than your opponent and play with intentionality. Be intentional about the way you handle your business. I guarantee you the IQ of this Wake Forest team is much higher than your average team. Use that to your advantage. There's no excuses for false starts, jumping the snap, missed assignments. But when you have one of those things happen, which it inevitably will, forget that shit and execute even better on the next play. I watched Derek Brown for the Carolina Panthers, arguably one of the top 5 defensive tackles in the NFL, get his shit rocked in a video from a joint practice last week. And I have no doubt that Derek Brown took that shit personal and came back the next play with even more will, even more rage, even more fight than he had the play before. That's what it takes to be a dog in this game. Some people have the talent, but they fold under pressure. Some people give in when it gets tough. But I know for a fact that this is not true about this fucking team, the 2025 Wake Forest Demon Deacon football team. You have the talent. You've been putting in the work. You've sacrificed your time, your body, your life for this game. The time is now. So keep going to work each day. Keep getting better one day at a time. Learn from your mistakes and eat this whole damn elephant that we call a full football season. And how do you eat an elephant, you might ask? One bite at a damn time. One game at a time, fellas. And that's what I got for the players out there listening. Get this message to the players. I'm hyped up for football season. Wayne, do you have anything to say before we head out for this stream?
If you can't get hype from that, you don't have a pulse. You're in a vegetative state, or you've already in the next life. That's all I have to say.
Let's go. Go Deeks. Join us next week. We're going to preview our first opponent, Kennesaw State. We're going to do a deep dive, let you guys know what we're facing in week 1. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share this with your friends. I'm sorry for the cussing at the end. That will not happen again, but I had to get that one out there. Thanks again for watching, and go Deeks.
Go Deeks.